What's up, gang? How you guys doing? I'm about to get started with today's podcast. Now, I am running a little late on my podcast tonight. I usually have my podcast done about 2 hours prior. I usually do my podcast around 7. Had some things to do today, really important things to do. Had to do a drug test for a business that I'm running, and the company who I'm contracting for requires me to do a drug test. So had to go do that, and it was a 2-hour wait. Can you believe that, man? A 2-hour wait for a drug test? Are you kidding me? But I did it. I got it done today. That is done. I am victorious when it comes to my drug test today, and I'm happy that I got it done. Got a key to mic here. Make sure the microphone is on. Yep, we're good. We're good to go on the microphone, guys. And now let's just cue up a podcast. It's not going to be a long podcast today, but I do think that it is important and it is critical, okay, for your survival in life, man. So we're going to cue this thing on Spotify, and we're going to get it started. All right. What's up, gang? How you guys doing? It is Lieutenant Sal Blue, 28-year law enforcement veteran, and the author of, here it is, the top 25 mistakes en route to the good life. Okay, second edition, man. Coming at you today with this tons of goodness on my top 25 mistakes, man. And I'll tell you what, guys. I'll tell you what. If you have not picked up your copy of my book, Top 25 Mistakes en route to the Good Life, you must not love saving time. Because it is all about crunching time, crunching the numbers, getting the numbers right, making it happen, not making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and getting it right, man. And that's what I do, man. I go full transparency in this book. I tell you guys the mistakes that I made, and I tell you how I got out of them, right? Whether it was through mentors, whether it's through repetition, no matter what it was, I give you guys a light at the end of every dark tunnel that you're in my book, Top 25 Mistakes. So get in there and check it out, man. I'm giving it away for free. 10,000 copies on my website, lieutenantsalblue.com. Just hop on over there. If you have any troubles with the website experience, just let me know, guys, and I will square you away. But 10,000 copies I'm giving away, 10,000 autographed copies I'm giving away. You pay the shipping, guys. I'm not paying for the shipping. I already paid to make the book, print the book. You can at least pay for it to be shipped out to you, right? But here you go. Let's get started with today's podcast, man. Today's podcast is, I think it's important, it's critical, especially for a lot of people who are living their lives in isolation. They're living their lives alone. They're living their lives in a fortress created by themselves. So today's question for our daily podcast is this, man. Are you trying to protect yourself and the ones you love by building a fortress? That's right. Are you building a fortress to protect everybody around you, right? You know, come in here, come behind these walls. You'll be safe, you'll be protected. I'm going to build a 100-foot tall wall and nobody's going to be get into us. And I used to think that way, man. Now, when I mention this to people, right, I always get some heavy pushback, right? I get heavy pushback, especially from my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. They love the pushback anyway, and that's what we do. But they push back, and the reason why, and I get it, man. I get it because, you know, we have a job to do in law enforcement, right? And our job for our entire career is based on two things. And those two things are to serve the public, right? And protect them at all costs, right? So when you begin to think of protecting people, right, you start to think, hey, in order for me to protect you, I have to see you, right? You got to be close to me. You got to be around me, right? You know, I got to know where you are and what you're doing, And so you go through all of these things when it comes to protecting somebody because you feel like that is the only way that you can protect people, right? Now, most people, right, they believe that the only way to protect somebody, as I said before, is keeping them close or build a wall around them and keep everything negative from entering into that zone, right? And that wall could be a virtual wall, it could be a real wall, it could be within your house, it could be within your circle of friends, it could be, as they say, the blue wall of silence, right? It could be all of the above, right? You build a wall up so high that nobody else can break it down and nobody else can get in, nothing negative, right? And so that's what you think. That is what you think when you think of protecting people. Now, obviously, guys, the world is a very dangerous place, and I get it, right? And in the law enforcement community, we get the experience, first-hand experience of seeing it every single day. And because we see it every single day, we realize, okay, that we have a strong need to protect ourselves. That's what we need to do because dangers are everywhere and we see it. So when I was younger in my law enforcement career, right? When I was younger, stronger, faster, right? What did I see? I always saw my enemies in the same way. That is how I visualize it because that is what I was good at, right? So I see my enemies as younger. I see my enemies as stronger. I see my enemies as faster, right? The things that we are good at, we usually amplify, right? And so we usually amplify that if we think that we need to protect somebody, we usually amplify that in a negative fashion. So we reflect who we are in our enemies a lot of times, okay? So we feel like they may be stronger and faster than us, and that's what we think. So when that is the case, right, my natural instinct when I was younger was isolation, right? And it was isolation for me and the people that I love and the people that I care for. I wanted to isolate them because if the enemy was younger, stronger, and faster like me, then they can hurt all the people around me that I love. Because if they couldn't get to me, of course they would try to get to the people I love. So my protection for them at that time, all I thought was isolation. I'll just isolate my family and friends and keep, my loved ones away from the enemy. Now, many of you may feel the same way, guys. Many of you may feel the same way. And as I watch so many people isolate themselves, right, in the world, as I watch the news and I watch TV and everybody's trying to hide from something. Because listen, trust me, all the news does is push negative and scary shit out there. Everything's so scary. The world is so dangerous now that you can access everything. So fear is unlimited, right? Fear is unlimited and fear is everywhere. And so everybody's trying to isolate themselves from danger and harm. Or no matter what it is, right? No matter what it is, okay? Despite your views on COVID and the coronavirus and the lockdowns and the isolations and everything else, people are trying to protect themselves. Okay? People are trying to protect themselves. Okay? And I get it. I definitely get it, guys. But as I grew older, and obviously slower, right? Getting out of the way of danger became far more important to me, right? Than me trying to isolate myself so that danger would never find me. See, when you believe that you can isolate yourself from danger, okay, danger always has a way to find you, right? It's just what it is. It's our human condition. It's our human condition because somehow, some way we are drawn to danger. We are drawn to harm. We are drawn to all type of tragedies. So a lot of times in life, you try to avoid something and it becomes greater than what you were trying to avoid in the first place. So understand that, man. And as I got older, I realized that. As I got older, And I said, you know something, it's a lot easier to be out and about and avoid danger as it comes my way, as opposed to live my life in complete isolation, okay, and hope that danger never finds me. It's a big difference, man. It's a big difference when you talk about danger and isolation, right? Because isolation, right, what isolation actually did was it exposed me to more dangers than it protected me from. And let me explain this to you guys, right? Because I was in isolation, right? What I did was I cut myself off from valuable information, right? Now, everybody thinks that, you know, you build a castle and you build a moat around it and nobody can get to you, right? And that is true, man. That is true. And I can understand your thinking when you say that. But just think of this, right? What if something does get through? What if something does happen? Who can get to you? Who can help you? Okay, isolation is what it is, right? So understand that isolated individuals become the obvious target of people, right? Because now, you know, like the lion in the pack, right? You know, you see the pack of gazelles all running in the pack, and they're the way they move, and they move so fast, what a force they're moving with, right? And so it's hard just to pick one up out of the crowd and attack them, you know, as a gazelle, because they move so fast. But you get the one that is totally and completely isolated from the group, he's an obvious target. Isolation makes you the obvious target, right? When you build a big old castle with the walls around it, with a moat surrounding it, everybody starts to think of, how could I possibly get into that castle? And who's in that castle that I need to get to, right? It becomes the obvious target to everybody. So understand that, man. In my many years of law enforcement, I gained far more value from circulating amongst the people, right? Far more value. You know, I watch law enforcement these days, and some of the cities, some of the inner cities are going back to the foot patrol, you know, and officers walking around and doing community policing, right? Community policing. I felt that was far more effective than when they started getting in cars and driving around, and you don't even know, you know, anybody in the entire neighborhood. Matter of fact, you don't even live in the neighborhood. So that makes it far more difficult for you to know your enemies, right? Now, me, like I said, I found it far more valuable to circle amongst the people, right? This is where I found my allies, guys. I found my allies in the people, right? And my allies, they gave me information against my enemies, right? So everybody is not your enemy, right? So you circulate among the people, and within those people, you'll find some people that are sympathetic to your cause. And this doesn't have to be law enforcement. This could be just about anything, guys. I just happen to be using law enforcement because I got 28 years of experience in it, right? But it can be in any circumstance. You circulate amongst the people, and when you circulate amongst the people and people talk, and as they talk, you will find allies, right? And those allies will tell you about your enemies, right? And your enemies, right, believe it or not, when I used to walk, my enemies made it their business, right? And you can see this as far as it goes. Your enemies made it their business to avoid me at all costs, because they had no idea who my allies were. So they didn't want to get too close to me, because they didn't know who was giving me information about them who were currently my enemies, right? Hopefully I said that right, guys. But anyway, so it was twofold in what I did and walking around amongst the people. So I'll tell you what, when you live your life in a bubble, right? And when you live your life in isolation, it is no different than living in a bubble, right? You ever heard about the boy in the plastic bubble? Maybe not, but anyway. When you live your life in isolation, it's like living in a bubble of your own creation, right? The only thing that you gain, right, from living in a bubble is madness, right? You literally go crazy. And you want to know why you go crazy, guys? Because eventually, due to lack of new information coming in, right, your mind creates new enemies. Your mind creates new enemies. Believe it or not, your mind may actually create enemies amongst your family and friends who are within that bubble, right? That bubble that you call yourself protecting, right? They will turn your family literally into your enemies because of your mind, because you've been in that bubble for far too long without outside information coming in, right? So when your mind creates those new enemies for you to battle, right? I want you guys to understand this, right? And we all know the battles of the mind, man. The battles of the mind are far greater than any real enemy that we have to face. So understand that, right? You don't want your mind to start creating enemies that you do not have amongst your allies who are in your bubble, man. You got to get out, you got to circulate, you got to get amongst the people, man. You got to start to realize that there's power in information. And I spoke about that before, guys. I spoke about that before. Now, when I lived my life in a fortress, right? You know, my family, everybody, I was in my little fortress. Nobody else could penetrate my law enforcement fortress, right? It was a fortress, obviously, of my own doing. And although for some time, right? Although for some time I was not bothered by any enemies, right? Because I felt that I had it really good. I knew I had enemies, right? And because I knew I had enemies, my mind did what it always does. It created enemies amongst my peers that I then commenced to try to put out of our circle, out of our bubble, out of our fortress, right? So you understand this? So soon, right? Soon you get to the point of nobody wants to be in your fortress because you're turning all of your allies into enemies. And that's a dangerous trick that your mind plays on you. I want you guys to also understand this when you are locked into your fortress, your little circle of nobody else can enter, right? And you're not circulating amongst the people. You cut off your chance for help, right? You cut off your chance for help from anybody else, from other people, which also ruins your flexibility to do different things and move in different areas, right? And I'm not even talking about law enforcement anymore, guys. I'm talking about life, right? When you live your life in a fortress, locked in to just kind of people, we do this and this is what we do and nobody else is allowed into that circle, you lock yourself off from all type of the pleasures of life, of dealing with all different types of people. You're never going to protect yourself from all the enemies in the world, right? And you're especially not going to protect yourself from the enemies in your mind, right? You'll never escape those enemies. They'll always be created and they will always rise up against you. So I wanted to say this. I wanted to do this podcast and it was a little bit short because I'm low on battery and everything else. But I felt that this was really, really important to talk to my law enforcement brothers and sisters about this, as well as everybody else out here who is constantly living their life in isolation, so afraid, right? I mean, and I get it, you know, it's what our current situation in life is, you know, with the pandemic and everything else. A lot of us were forced into isolation, okay? And that's one thing. But when you're in isolation of your own creation, right, that's a totally, completely different animal that you really, really don't want to deal with each and every day. Now, as I explained in my previous podcast, guys, Power increases with contact. You understand? Not isolation. Power increases with contact. So if you want to have more power in your life, if you want to gain more power, have more influence, give a greater impact on the world, give value to more people, okay, you're going to have to circulate. You're going to have to get out there, right? And so the more you get contact with people, the more power, the more influence, the more value you can give, guys. Okay? The more people you are in contact with, the greater power you can achieve. And I say this over and over again, man. When you're out there and you're trying to give yourself to people, right? And when I say give yourself to people, I mean give value. I believe everybody has something that they have to give, something powerful, something valuable that you should not be wanting to take to the grave with you, right? Everybody. And I heard this the other day. The richest bank in the world, richest place in the world is the graveyard, right? All of the dreams that were taken with them of people who never followed through on the things that they wanted to do in life. And so I'm hoping that's not you. I'm hoping you're not going to live your life in isolation and in your fortress, right? Get out there and circulate, man. Get out there and be a part of people. Join a different group. Join a different crowd. Talk to different people. Find some other people to infiltrate your circle of influence. Do it all, man. Live your life, man. And I truly know for a fact that you will gain far more knowledge, information, and growth with this tactic right here. So I'm going to wrap it up for today. You guys, make sure you hop on over, as I said it in the beginning, make sure you hop on over to lieutenantsalblue.com, pick up your copy of my book, Top 25 Mistakes in Route to the Good Life. If you want to DM me, I'll send you an autographed copy, or if you pick up one at lieutenantsalblue.com and not on Amazon, you'll get an autographed copy from me. I'm giving away 10,000 copies, guys. 10,000 copies I am giving away. Put the order in. So make sure you pick up your copy today. Alright? And also, man, if you have anything that you want me to talk about on tomorrow's podcast, just shoot me a quick DM. Shoot me a quick DM. And I will, right, use your comment on my next podcast. And if I do, I'll shoot you another bonus on top of that. Alright? So, this is Lieutenant Sal Blue, and that's all I have for today, man. Told you guys this is going to be a short podcast, but it's powerful and it's to the point. Alright, so you guys have a great evening, and I will talk to you tomorrow with my daily podcast. Deuces.